This lesson is on typography. You're all familiar with various types of fonts and typefaces. We have a little bit of vocabulary we need to get used to. And you'll see that these are only 3 of the key terms that you have in your chapter, Chapter 9. But these are 3 of the most important. So typography is when we use letters, words, and passages to convey an instructional message. And we have typeface and font. And the typeface is actually the look and appearance of the letters and the numbers, how they appear visually. The font is the computer-generated images that we have that come in different point sizes, and we have thousands of fonts today compared to what, probably a handful years ago. But typeface and font today are used pretty much interchangeably. So we have font families, and you can see the ones that we've talked about in our book: black letter, Roman, square serif, sans serif, which is the most common for internet or computers, script, and decorative, which are the wingdings and the dingbats, and those are the ones that we typically use for bullet points or decoration. So our most readable, if you look at this screen, is probably the sans serif, and the second most readable would be the square serif, because it's a little bit wider, has a wider counter, and it just makes it easier to read. The Roman is similar to your New Times Roman that you use for your APA papers in 12-point for your instructors. So what font do you use? Well, it depends. What are your instructional objectives? Are you attempting to be very easy to read? Or are you intending to make an impact? What are the other elements in your piece? The fonts should not conflict. They should actually aid and assist the rest of the elements and not fight with them. And then designer skill level has a lot to do with it. A highly skilled designer can use fonts and really make something beautiful out of them. But you want to play to your skill level. And so if you're a novice, you want to start out using just a few typefaces, and work from there. So some of the issues in reading fonts, we want to think about readability and legibility. Readability is how easy it is on your eyes to read, especially long passages, and legibility is how easy it is to discern the letters and characters one from another. Alignment you use all the time in MS Word, so you're aligning to the left or to the right, or you're full aligning, but it's also when you're aligning top to bottom, like in a cell, or aligning to an image. The line length has a lot to do with readability. The shorter lines can use smaller typefaces. They typically recommend 12-point for print and 14-point or greater for headers in print. But you can decrease the size of the font if you increase the space between the lines and add more white space. And of course, caps and italics, when you use them all together, are extremely difficult to read, so you usually want to use combinations of the two, upper and lower case. Some other issues affecting fonts, and these are all very similar in nature. These have to do with the size and the spacing of the fonts. So the attributes are the height of the lowercase letters, and the counters are the width of the uppercase letters. And so you can see the difference in Monaco and Arial here as far as how much space they take up. The serif versus sans serif you're familiar with now that you've read the chapter, but if you look on this page and you look at the header, From Type to Typography is a serifed font, and Issues Reading Fonts is a non-serifed font. Leading is the space between the lines, and kerning is the space between the letters, and you can adjust both of those for more readability and legibility. They usually recommend 20% font size for leading, but you can increase that if you have a smaller font size and you need a little more white space. You can definitely adjust those two things depending on your venue and what you're trying to do. So what did we learn? Well, yeah, we learned that fonts rule, but we also learned that there are sizes and widths, and that there's spacing considerations that we can take into consideration, and then there's also the serifed fonts versus the non-serifed fonts, and all in all, we've learned that we have a lot of flexibility with fonts, and it'll be interesting this week to play with them and see what you can produce.